Hello and welcome to another episode of Back to Britpop. It's me, Chris. On this episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Saffron of the band Republica. The band were formed in 1994 and had two albums. The self-titled album Republica was released in 1996, followed by Speed Ballads in 1998. Saffron talks about her musical influences and how the band formed, getting signed, and future recordings, and hopefully some live shows. I was so lucky to get hold of Saffron for the podcast. She's been incredibly busy over lockdown. I'll be back at the end of the interview to talk about how you can support the podcast, but without further ado, here's Saffron. Welcome to the podcast, Saffron. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you, Chris.
What's your lockdown experience been like so far this year?
Well, I chose to be a frontline key worker, actually. It's been pretty hectic, quite traumatic, heartbreaking at times. But yeah, I found something that's liberated me, basically, when I wasn't able to be performing. So yeah, it's been really good. That's
amazing. It's surprising, isn't it, how many people have sort of volunteered their time and not just stuck to the normal kind of process of just at home.
Yeah.
And it's commendable. So the podcast, as I mentioned off mic there, was just about connecting with bands from the 90s and reconnecting with music that was at a time was an explosion of artists and sounds. But I wanted to also reconnect, Saffron, with you in terms of, what got you into music in the first place and kind of your route into the band.
Well, I grew up kind of listening to John Peel under the duvet, just tuning in late at night when I was supposed to not be. Saving all my pocket money up to go and buy vinyls on a Saturday, and going to see lots of early gigs of bands like The Jam, Simple Minds, Human League. I was really into electronic music very early on, and indie music. So I saw The Cure, The Bunnymen, as well as bands like The Specials and stuff at the time when I was growing up. Which kind of inspired me really to, write my own songs and get into music. So kind of in 1988 when acid house music blew up I was in London, I got together with a couple of DJ producers who were in a band called Enjoy, and I started, that was my first band. We started doing loads of gigs and illegal raves and stuff. And then I got signed as a songwriter to Warner Chappell Music for Publishing and Warner Records as a solo artist. But I decided that wasn't really what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in a band, form a band myself.
Yeah.
So I went to Deconstruction Records and told them they needed to sign me. And they told me to go away and get a band together. And in a month and come back and get some music, which was exactly what I did, and they signed me. So luck should have it that I bumped into Tim Dorney, who was in the band called Flowered Up, and we got together, and Johnny Mail, and we started writing songs together, and that's how my band was made, really.
I was going to say, in terms of the songwriting process for you then, what were you kind of drawing on as inspiration? Because the songs are different in terms of like their upbeatness and their kind of outlook for the time.
Well, we always wanted to kind of meld acid house music with songs, sort of indie punk songs, as it were. So we just bought lots of equipment ourselves, and built our own studio. And we still do write and produce all our own music, and we just did loads and loads of gigs and did all the university circuits at the time, and Britpop was kind of around, and all our friends were in bands, and it was just a really exciting time to be in London and be in Britain at that time, for music.
But there wasn't always kind of a great experience for everybody, especially women in the era, in that era as well. But did you find yourself having to be to perform or act in a certain way to fit in?
No, I'm not at all. Certainly, it was very difficult for women, but we've been very lucky in that we've been signed by head of RCA in America, so we've been touring America a lot, and just at that time they had only just started to playlist women-fronted bands who were like, it to them, like indie rock or modern rock as they would call it, and you know, likes of Garbage and No Doubt and the Cardigans and stuff. So we were kind of lucky in that we had already been successful in the States, and we came back to England just as, you know, the stations were adding women-fronted bands to the playlist, because they weren't playlisted before, you know. So it wasn't easy. I can't say it was easy, and we had to smash down quite a few doors. But because my band, we still are a gang of friends. We, you know, it wasn't, you know, we weren't at all manufactured anyway. We just kind of, you know, blazed our own trails, our own path.
It was definitely like a refreshing kind of sound to what was kind of like a very backward-facing kind of genre of music or kind of era, looking at the 60s and 70s, to having this, like you say, bombastic kind of, not grungy, but kind of like that electronic sound as well, and almost like harping back at some of the, like the punky elements of the 70s, and that was always kind of like your manifesto, really. Was that like your game plan?
It was definitely a manifesto. It was definitely punky as how I sing, but also it was very big choruses, because I think more from the acid house era, you know, because that kind of big, building up to big choruses was our thing, and still is really.
Because I'm guessing as well, because you know the music and the songs that you created, they do fit either like the small sweaty venue and the like the festival circuit as well, because of that anthemic feel to them.
But those are the two venues that we love to play the most. We don't really like playing big places and stuff where we can't see an audience. You know, I mean, every band would be lying if they said they didn't want to get to Wembley, which we did get to Wembley, but we we hated it because we couldn't see anybody.
Was there any kind of, going back again a little bit, was there any kind of female singers and artists around the time, or perhaps before then, that you were kind of not idolising, but kind of reference points for your vocal style?
Well, absolutely. My favourite things growing up were like Toya, Polystyrene, Susie and the Banshees. You know, very much Hazel O'Connor, those kind of singers as well. But also always very individual singers. British singers like Ian Dury. I love John Cooper Clarke. You know, Terry Hall, Paul Weller. You know, people that had a bit of bite to them, to their style, and were also very good songwriters. You know, those kind of people I really looked up to, and also people like Robert Smith and Gary Newman and people like that, who were very unique. You know. Yeah,
because I noticed it was like the vocal style, almost like the attack of the vocal is kind of what draws your attention straight away, isn't it? And that's kind of what differentiates you with a lot of the music of the time.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, everybody hated it, which is exactly what I wanted. You know, it was that whole kind of punk Malcolm McLaren, you know, even Alan McGee, you know, ethos of like, we want you to hate you. We want everybody to hate you, because then you're relevant, then you're different, then everybody talks about you. You know, because I work with Jar Wobble as well from Public Image Limited, and he told me and taught me quite a lot about the business and stories and stuff about those early punk days, which, you know, really helped me. And Nick Jones as well from The Clash was early championed us, came to our first ever gig. So we only had three techno songs, and also Matt Johnson from Verver, you know, he was a friend, and because he had his studio nearly next to ours in Hoxton Square in London. So yeah, we had some really good friends that we looked up to, that kind of championed us. kind of like, just told us, don't worry about what people think about you, just do what you want to do, and stick to it, which is what we did.
Yeah, and in terms of like writing or keeping going with the material for the second album, was there how challenging was that for you? Because I imagine you would have been on the road a lot of the time and like fitting in songwriting. So how did that work?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, any band's second album is very difficult. But yeah, I mean, obviously we were travelling so much at the time, and stuff. So for speed ballads, it was difficult because it was, that sort of continuation from where we done the first album, then toured everywhere, and we're still touring at the time, sort of thing. But it also didn't help that our label collapsed. Our record label in England collapsed at the same time. So it was very, very frustrating for us because none of our albums were in the shops because they hadn't manufactured them. So, at some point we're still fighting to get that re-released, which would be nice for the fans and stuff, because it never got released properly in England, let alone in America or anywhere like that. So, But we carried on, and we've done a few other EPs and albums, and we've just got a new album. Well, we had a new album ready for release just before the lockdown, so we're hoping that we can have that out either the end of this year or beginning of next year sometime. Because we've booked some festivals from June onwards, so fingers crossed we'll be back out there soon.
Oh yeah, saw your tour dates and things that are coming up, and it must be really exciting, especially after the year you've had as well, in terms of sacrificing a lot of your time as well, and then being able to do what you really enjoy. It must be really exciting.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I've missed my music and so much, and my band, my music, the fans, and just be able to go out and meet people. Yeah.
So is this new album sonically that's in the same vein? Is there sort of other elements that you've been able to draw on over the years?
I mean, if anything, it's more electronic, and it's still got some big choruses and stuff, which is our thing. But I think that I think electronically, that's the main influence to it, and I mean, it just sounds like us. I guess it's difficult to describe your own music.
Yeah. Well, it's been fantastic to speak to you, Saffron. I've really enjoyed it, and good luck with everything in terms of like getting back to normal. I'm fingers crossed for everything.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I'm just so excited to be back out there, and I mean, to this day, we're still very, very good friends with lots of the Britpop bands, Saffron, the Blue Tones, Happy Mondays, the Roses. We love and adore all of them. One of my favourite bands from that era was Gene. I know I don't think they're still together, but I know that Sleeper are back together, which is really exciting. I saw Louise Arena just before lockdown, and she lives quite near me. So we're just really excited. We're going to be doing a Shine On weekend later in November with a lot of those guys. So that'll be a good party.
Oh yeah, it's definitely something to look forward to and to come back to. It was saying about sort of camaraderie with all those bands from that era. Was there any other? Was there competition as well?
They're really good friends with us. No, with us not at all. Maybe it's because of my gender. I just don't know. But we're just friends. I think we're well known for reputation for being mates with everybody. So there was never any rivalry for us. I saw, and there was for some of the other bands, but hey, it's all positive, because at the time people were just writing such great songs,
Yeah. Well, again, thank you. I know it's been a short one, but I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome,
Saffron.
Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome, Chris. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, love.
Take care. Bye.
Happy Easter. Bye, love. Bye-bye.
Thanks again to Saffron for speaking to me for the podcast. It was an absolute pleasure. So if you want to support the podcast, there's loads of ways you can do that. Loads of you have already done that as well, which is really much appreciated. Write a review on iTunes and leave a rating. That's fantastic. I'm on social media, so just search for Back to Britpop on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. That's where I usually do most of the tweets and posts and what have you. And if you want to support me financially, you can do. There's a link in the show notes to the Ko-Fi page that I have, which just allows you to buy me a coffee for £3. We're coming to the end of season 2, I think. But hopefully there's a couple more episodes left in the tank. So hopefully I'll speak to you soon. Take care.